873. A word on Ukraine, though. It's difficult at the moment to get a sense of precisely what's on the table when it comes to these Ukraine-Russia talks taking place. I'm joined by Cormac Smith, former strategic communications advisor to Ukraine's Foreign Affairs Minister when he was a British diplomat. Good afternoon to you.
Sheila, good afternoon. It's lovely to join you again.
It seems that the four or five areas that are in contention here are the question of land, to keep it, to yield it, army size from when it comes to Ukraine, membership of NATO or the protection of NATO, and essentially the security of Ukraine beyond this war. Would you agree that those are the attack lines, discussion lines?
Absolutely, Sheila. You know, the original, plan that I went out and described on Friday as something drafted in the Kremlin and translated into English by the White House, that suggested not only allowing Russia keep all the land they had captured since 2022, but giving them the further 5% of Donetsk, which they have not been able to capture in 4 years. Now, it's very, very important that people understand the significance of this. It is a heavily fortified piece of land, and Alexander Stubb, the Prime Minister, or the President rather, of Finland, recently described it as the highway to Kyiv and a gateway to the rest of Ukraine. So giving that up is an absolute non-starter. Also, the original plan was to limit the Ukrainian military, but also talked about stopping them having any heavy weapons. So, that this would effectively leave Ukraine as a sitting duck for when Russia decided to come back for more. And we absolutely believe that that is what they would do. So the original plan was totally unacceptable.
Now, do you happen to know if there is a changed plan? Because there are reports in certainly international news agencies that plan has morphed a bit and from a Ukrainian perspective softened a bit.
Yeah. Look, Sheila, I don't know any more than what's in the public domain, but what I understand is there would still be a restriction on the size of the Ukrainian army, importantly in peacetime, and the figure I've seen is 800,000. Yeah. There is no mention of Ukraine giving up that extra 25% of Donetsk, which has got to be a non-starter. And it seems to be that there are stronger security security guarantees given. But Sheila, just for one moment, the Kremlin has not yet made any comment. But could I give you two quotes from this morning's newspapers in Moscow? And this is from Steve Rosenberg, the BBC's great Moscow correspondent. And of course, we know that the press is very much controlled by the Kremlin. One, the European Ukrainian gang will correct Trump's plan so that it is unacceptable to Russia. And from another newspaper, a peace plan will only be signed if there are occupational patrols in the streets of Kyiv. And I think that's my view from what I have seen so far of
occupational control. So they're saying yes, Russian troops in Kyiv.
Yes.
Well, that's not going to happen, is it?
No, it's not going to happen. So unfortunately, look, Sheila, there is nobody wants peace more than the Ukrainians. They are worn out. They have had entire cities razed to the ground. They have had their women raped, their children kidnapped, and tens of thousands of their civilians murdered. But it cannot be capitulation because Russia would simply come back for more. Sorry.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, clearly it's more than about just land, isn't it? But it was interesting to read the quotes of two Ukrainian soldiers on that Eastern Front, still fighting. One said, "We're now fighting land that has nobody in it, and people are dying for it. It needs to stop," was his view. And another one said, "Too much blood has actually been sacrificed on this land for us to stop now." So that, in a way, those two views from two serving soldiers in the thick of it kind of encapsulates the dilemma for Ukraine, doesn't it?
It does indeed. But, I would add to that, and I speak to a wide range of Ukrainians on a daily basis, friends, former diplomats, and so forth. Nobody, as I said, nobody wants peace more than the Ukrainians. And unfortunately, I think that sooner or later a deal is going to have to be agreed to, which will be less than ideal for the Ukrainians. But nobody I'm speaking to is in the mood for capitulation, because they know the war is existential. There's a quote I have rolled out so many times, and a close friend of mine who's a senior Ukrainian ambassador, and said it to me in the early weeks of the further invasion. He said, Cormac, it's very simple. If Russia stops fighting, there will be no war. If Ukraine stops fighting, there will be no Ukraine.
No Ukraine.
There will be no Ukraine.
Thank you very much indeed, Cormac. Cormac Smith, former Strategic Communications Advisor to Ukraine's Foreign Affairs Minister.